Welcome to the room design episode of this 5-part series where I talk you guys through the ins and outs of my home live streaming studio. In my overview episode, I touched on some design elements of what came into play when we were building the studio. But in this episode, I'm diving in even deeper, showing you guys some footage of the actual build and walking you through the blueprints and plans that we had to get the desired look for this room that I wanted. Before we talk about set design, I want to kind of reiterate that a set design like this isn't for everybody and it's not needed in every scenario at all. If a simple backdrop is what you prefer, then that's fine. Also, if a simple backdrop is all you have, then that's fine. Anything can work. But if you want to express yourself a little more with the environment you're surrounded with in your live streaming setups or your setups for content creation, then you can have a lot of creative fun building your own look. When you're plotting out your space from a creative aspect, try and step into the audience's shoes in terms of what they're going to see. Try and visualize that stage first. And then the next step is really to plot out and plan what you would like everything to look like. Regardless of how much space you have, whatever look you're trying to achieve, you can totally do it. All you need to do is put the time into planning how to make it happen in the most efficient way possible. So don't worry if you feel like you have a box room and there's still stuff that you want to do with your background, you can totally do it. Just the research in the very early stages is what's needed before you go and maybe splurge on an expensive backdrop from eBay or something like that. It's worth really putting some creative thought into exactly what you would like to be sat behind you on your streams. Is your environment going to be contributing to who you are as a brand? Is it a self-expression? Is it a display of fan art maybe? Is it interactive? Do you, the broadcaster or the streamer, interact with what's around you depending on what happens in your live stream chat? There's lots to think about, but hopefully that kind of sets you up in terms of where your mind really needs to be in a kind of practical sense before you launch into things creatively. Just a note that working lengthways into your room is probably going to benefit you the most, especially if you're working lengthways and then also corner to corner in terms of length as well. That's essentially what I'm doing. I thought it'd be cool to include some footage of the actual rebuild of this room so you can see how we got from A to B to achieve our desired look. Ah, look at this mess. Okay, so what we've done is we've set up the rig at the very back to get an idea of where the Blackmagic is going to sit, how much depth we have. So that is ideally going to be our new backdrop, that corner right there. We're currently building a neon arch. The plan is to have it so that I can physically walk in and underneath it like this. Day 3, it's been a bigger job than I thought. Day 1 was more or less just moving things out of the room that did not need to be in the new setup and kind of just switching everything around, taking the jungle down, moving some of the sound absorption foam and also building this neon arch. Day 2 was about repositioning the existing lights that lived on the ceilings and the walls to best benefit the new place where I'll be set up and to fill out our backdrop appropriately. We've always ran these studio lights that hang on the walls and the ceiling as a series, so I can come in, just click one light switch, and instantly the foreground and the backdrop are lit up. One of the main goals in here to make use of this very, very small space was to lift anything that currently lives on the ground off the ground. I've had this freestanding enclosed shelf to just store all of my camera lenses, microphones, anything else. I wanted to make that very small floor space also free, so we're getting rid of that. And we built a little homemade shelf so I can just keep all my lenses up there out of the way safely. And I got a little bit more foot room in here. If you're working from a small box room, it really helps to clear as much floor space as possible. So lifting up any storage containers or shifting them onto the walls on shelving units can really help just make the space feel a little bit bigger. I wasn't sure of the idea of the neon arch at first. I thought it would protrude too much into the room. I thought it might be a little bit hazardous if I were to fall backwards and just knock everything down. But I'm actually surprised at the space that I have to maneuver, the space I'll have to perform for streams. Once you've kind of cleared the way in terms of you've got a solid plan of where your lighting's going to go, you know what space you're working with, then you can launch into things from a creative standpoint. And this is where you step into almost like a set designer's shoes. You treat your space as if it were a stage. Maybe you want to keep things simple, but for those of you guys looking to express yourselves a little bit more, you can keep things minimal here. You can really go over the top like I have. It's all down to your personal preference, and that's really where your kind of expression and how you feel and what you enjoy as a kind of, from a design perspective, I guess, is really going to flourish and come across on stream as well. I think your particular style, whatever way you decide to do it, is going to come across so well if you put the time in. For me, I plotted out a visual mood board. Visual mood boards are something that I use just for so many different things. Like visual cues give me so many different ideas when it comes to songwriting particularly, but also when it comes to things like this where, you know, it's a creative project and I want to kind of bring in some focus as to exactly what the theme is. For this room, for this studio, the theme, as you can tell, it was neon jungle. So I would collate images that kind of express that vivid neon forest vibe, put them in a kind of like mood board collage on Pinterest, and would just slowly but surely kind of add to that mood board to keep my own mind focused on the look I was going for. So when it came to picking up these foliage panels, when it came to deciding what lights I was going to use in this room, all of those kind of visual cues were already set in my mind. I knew exactly the kind of avenue that I wanted to go down visually, especially if the space you're working with is going to be multi-purpose. So maybe it's not just used for live streaming, maybe it's where you're doing all of your video editing, or it's your office space day to day, much like this is for me. Then you're going to want to pay attention to the comfort levels of the entire room in general. For me, I have like a kind of high stool with no kind of arms. This is perfect for when I'm playing guitar. Any kind of desk chairs with arms is just like unusable for me. My chair being at this height is super comfortable for me, especially with the height of these two cameras as well. And in terms of just like little design elements in the room, I have a lot of plants that you can't see that are actually real kind of dotted around the room in different places as well that, you know, the camera never sees, but I see. So that's important to bear in mind as well. You got to create the space with your audience in mind, but also with you, the person that has to live in that space, in mind too. Although I've moved my studio around recently, the neon jungle theme has been in here for probably about 2 years now. And initially when I was kind of drafting up what I wanted to be in my backdrop, I was just approaching it with a fun outlook and kind of, I always get asked, okay, number one, where am I? When I'm live streaming, where is this place? Number two, am I inside or outside? Number three, why is this happening? I was just really running with a creative idea that I absolutely loved, and I was also working with materials that I already had as well. So the flowers in the back growing out of the acoustic guitar, my grandma just used to have so many different craft elements like that I've held on to and wanted to work them into the space as well. I had an idea of what I wanted, which was a kind of neon botanical vibe. I didn't know how I was going to achieve it, but I knew that material wise, I had these LEDs, I had access to some of these tropical panels, and then it was just about bringing them together and pulling together something that works. So I love the end result. It's definitely overkill for some people, but I adore it. And it's really fun on a Zoom call trying to explain to people. Remember to keep functionality at the forefront when it comes to designing. So you've got enough room for your camera setup, you've got enough room to mount your lights, and you've got enough kind of space to perform or be the live streamer, be the broadcaster, and be comfortable when you're live. Me and James also have a secondary set, which some of you guys might have seen me live stream from before. This is actually a functional recording studio where we typically go to finish off song ideas and wrap up final vocals. This secondary set has been designed in a way not only just to look cool, but also from an acoustic treatment point of view, it needs to be treated properly because it's a studio. Having a secondary space, from my point of view, creatively is definitely worthwhile. If you work from home yourself, you probably feel very blessed to be able to get out every now and again and work in a second space, right? So that's kind of why we have a second space away from home, so we can kind of stretch our legs a little bit and be in a kind of different environment. That's why you shouldn't be afraid to have a little bit of fun with your room design, especially if this is a space where you're working from home, or it's going to be the dominant space where you do most of your day-to-day content creation, live streaming, or office work. Don't be afraid to run with a theme. It comes down to you being comfortable and you feeling motivated to come in and create each and every day. That's super important, and that plays into the functionality of the space, so bear that in mind. With this series, I've really tried to cover all bases in terms of covering what I use in my own studio, and I'm very well aware that everything that I use isn't going to always be applicable to everybody watching. So I wanted to come up with a solution where I could help on an individual basis as well. So that's partly why I've set up these monthly one-on-one calls where we can sit down, I can get to know you, the streamer, and answer any questions you have from a technical point of view, audio, visual, room design, lighting wise, anything in between, anything live streaming in general. So make sure you check out their sessions over on Patreon. I really hope they help. I really hope this whole series has helped. If it has, make sure you like this video and all the videos in the series, and make sure you give it a cheeky share too. If you've discovered me and my music through these videos, this video series, then make sure you check out my live streams. I go live on YouNow pretty much daily, and also on Twitch weekdays as well. The content you can expect from me live stream wise is music. I do a lot of live music, a lot of original songs, and a few covers here or there too. So stop by, it would be great to see you guys. Make sure to carry on the conversation over on my Discord. Join up over there. There's a dedicated streaming setup channel for you guys to discuss all things live streaming, and also reach out to me there if you have any questions at all about the Patreon one-on-one sessions. And that's the last episode in the series, you guys. Thank you very much for watching. If for any reason you missed out on any of the previous episodes, our audio, visual, lighting, or even our overview episode, I've made a playlist right here so you can watch them all in order. I really hope this series has helped answer some questions along the way. Hopefully it's given you some ideas of how you can rework your space. And yeah, I look forward to seeing you in your streams. Make sure you connect with me over on Discord. Make sure you stay in touch, and happy streaming.